Okay, hi everybody. I'm Alessandra. I'm an Italian woman currently living in the northern part of Italy, and I'm an airline pilot. As I was saying before, I actually quit flying 1.5 years ago. I was flying for the Italian Airlines Alitalia. And now I'm starting again. Actually, tomorrow will be my first day with a new airline. So I'm really happy to be here. It's like celebrating this new beginning. My father was, why did I want to do this job? My father was a pilot as well. So I was actually born with airplanes. When I was little, he was a military pilot in Italian military aviation. So I grew up in airports actually. And I was really amazed every time to see all these switches and controls that you have inside an aircraft. And I thought that a pilot, it was like a Superman because he knew everything about each and every one of these switches and buttons, and it looked like impossible to me. Then in 1980, my dad went from the military aviation to Alitalia. And then it started a completely new chapter as he was flying everywhere. And so for many years, I felt like I was a citizen of the world because I was always traveling with him, going everywhere to the United States, to South America, to Australia, everywhere. And I really fell in love with this life, with the job, with the people that actually works on plane because like 30, 35 years ago, almost now it's almost 40 years ago, aviation was really like a new and incredible job, and only like strange people were doing like flight attendants or pilots. So you really had the chance to meet really interesting persons. So I really grew up wanting to be a pilot. But when I was young, actually, there were no female pilots, maybe some in the United States. And in Italy, there was just this woman. Actually, I don't remember her name, but she was the first one. But after her, they really had no women pilots. So when I finished my high school, Alitalia had just like 7 women's, but they just hired these women like for publicity, advertising, to show to the world that they were a good airlines. But actually, they didn't want to hire any other women. So as I had no hope to become a pilot, I started studying at the university. But after a few years, the world actually changed in a minute, and Alitalia started to hire women. So thanks to my mom, it was my mom, because my mom, she was a teacher, but she didn't want to be a teacher. She wanted to do another job, but her father just, made her, he didn't want her to do any other job except for the teachers. So she really helped me because she did a job that she didn't like for her entire life. And she didn't want me to live like that. So she convinced my dad, and finally my dad said, yes, okay, I'm gonna help you. And so I started, and for a few years I was flying and studying, and also I was studying engineering, so it was really hard. But since the moment that I started flying, actually I was even better at university because I was doing something that I really loved. So that's how my story began, and I started flying here in a small, with small aircraft. And I still remember, because when you start flying, you do your first flight with the instructor, and then before you take your license, one day when you're ready, the instructor makes you fly alone. And that's really the biggest day for a pilot, because it's the first time you are up in the air alone in an aircraft. And actually, I was kind of lucky because my first flight was kind of early. I was really ready with few hours flight time. And I still remember my first flight. I was flying in Vicenza, that is a town close to where I live, and I was also studying in Vicenza. So my first flight, I was overflying my university with all my friends, like, like doing this to me. So it was really a big achievement. And then I took my private pilot license. And then I went to study for a commercial pilot license, that it's actually the license that you need to work. And I went to the United States to do some flying hours, as flying in Italy is very expensive. In the United States, it's really much cheaper, at least it was by then. So I went there, I did my hours to be a little bit more experienced. And then I finally got my commercial pilot license. And actually, it was 1999. And I think that was one of the 1999 and 2000 were my biggest years, because I finished university. And I had my commercial pilot license, and I went to the assessment process for Alitalia. So in March 1999, I started the assessment, and it was quite tough. I really had some moments where I wanted to give up, because I felt it was really too much for me, but I had this voice inside that was keeping me saying, no, I work so hard to be here, so I'm not going to give up. And I remember when I was inside with a psychologist, because of course, actually assessment process, it was a kind of really much different. Today it's different, but still you have to do a psychology assessment. And I remember it was really tough, because I think there was kind of a bias against women by that time. So I stayed inside for 1 hour and a half, and they had like this profile of pilots made on men. So as my psychology test wasn't the same as a psychology test of a man, of course, because I'm a woman. And he questioned for 1 hour and a half why I was different. And the strange thing is that by then it looked very normal to me. Now I understand that it's not like that. I mean, women are different. We are not worse, and we are not better. We just do things differently. But the kind of perspective 23 years ago was really 24 actually was really different. So I remember that hour and a half was really challenging. And I was like, I wanted to give up, and I was like trying to keep up with this man, or challenging me with many questions. But I passed the assessment. So in September 1999, I started my course with Alitalia. And in June 2000, I was hired. And it was, I think, one of the best days of my life, actually. It was really a big achievement. And yeah, I still, tomorrow it will be another great day for me, because it's like going back 23 years ago. So, but I really remember how I enjoyed that moment, how it looks. I felt like I really finally my dream had come true, and it was like that. And so I started flying, and I have to say that I'm really proud of being, having. Sorry, sometimes the English comes and goes. I'm really proud of joining Alitalia, because I think that despite the fact that probably, as I was one of the first ones, it was really strange for men to work with women by that time. But after 23 years, I have to say that I've been treated really equally, and I had a lot of respect from my colleague. And as it's not something that happens really often in Italy right now. In many other jobs, I think I was really lucky, because no one ever made me feel like I was less than a pilot just because I was a woman. They really treated me with a lot of respect, and that's one of the things that I take with me all of the time. So yeah. So I joined Alitalia in 2000, and in September, in June, and then in June 2001, I defend my thesis. And I also got my degree in engineering. So as I told you, really, challenging years. And in September 2021, I got married with Davide. He was a pilot as well. So we are a family where everyone is a pilot. And after 5 years, in 2005, I got my first son, Guglielmo. And I quit flying for 1 year, as you're not allowed to fly when you are pregnant. And also you are allowed to stay at home for 1 year after your baby is born. So I had this almost 2 years off, and I was quite, somehow happy, because when you are a pilot, you wake up at really weird hours in the morning, like 2 in the morning, or you stay awake all night. And I had 1 year and a half of sleeping, really good sleep, until I got my son, then kind of crazy. So I would say 9 months of good sleep, and then 1 year of not so good sleep. And then I went back flying in 2006 when he was 1 year old. I went back flying, and again, it's different for women, because a man never stops flying. And when you stop flying for such a long time, and when you don't have that much experience, you lose a lot of what you studied. You forget a lot of the things you were doing, like very automatically, suddenly becomes really difficult to do. You have to think about it, and you don't see yourself as good as you were. So it's really something, how can I say, you have to study, you have to practice, but also you have to work on yourself a lot. But again, I was lucky, because I had a lot of help from the company. And then in 2007, I got pregnant for my second time, for my second son, Pietro. So I quit for another couple of years almost. And then I went back. But this time it was different, as Alitalia was in really a bad situation. So while I was still at home, Alitalia filed for bankruptcy. They actually closed the company and opened a new one. And as pilots, if we don't fly, actually, our license expires. And as I was, I hadn't been flying for 2 years, my license was no more valid. So I was really worried with this new company that they wouldn't hire me. And that was really a tough moment for me, because I really wanted to go back to do my job. So what I actually did, I asked to go back to work before my son was 1 year old. So I left my son at home when he was like 6 months old.
Wow.
But I was lucky. I was hired in this, let's say, new airline. The name was always Alitalia, but it was a new Alitalia. And that's where I work until October 2021, when Alitalia fell from bankruptcy again. But this time I decided not to continue because I was kind of tired of all of this. So I've been working as an engineer for the last year and a half. And then December 2022, I went to this new assessment with EasyJet. EasyJet is a low-cost airline based in England. It's an English low-cost airline. And I was lucky enough to pass the assessment again. This time the assessment was really much easier. I really was treated in a different way. The world has changed. Nowadays, everyone wants women, especially these young and, let's say, really, how can I say that in English, really good airlines. They really want women because they know that we are really good in teamwork. And a lot of people think that being a pilot is a technical job, but actually it's half technical, because of course you have to manage an aircraft, you have to know a lot of things, a lot of procedures, you have to know all the switches and the buttons, you have to know what they are there for. But you're not going anywhere if you don't have any social competency, if you're not good in communicate with others, in working with others, in sharing your ideas with others, in being able to listen to others. And, you know, women are good at that. We are listeners. We are people that can do a lot of compromise without feeling bad. We have a smile for everyone. So that's why nowadays they want women up there. And so I really had a different treatment from EasyJet than the one I had with the psychologist 25 years ago. They didn't have to check if, as a woman, I was good enough to be a pilot. They just wanted to see if I was good as a pilot and not as a woman. So I would say that the world slowly, really slowly, is changing, is opening up for women. And what we actually need is for someone to see that, to show us that it's possible, that there is a way out there for us. And I'm really here to tell you that there is a way. If you want to do things, if you dream, if you, you know, when I was little, to join Alitalia, they had this crazy rule that if a son of a pilot wanted to join Alitalia, it was okay. If a daughter of a pilot wanted to join Alitalia, the dad had to resign. So he had to leave the job in order to make space for a woman. And that was, you know, today, if I think about that, it's really a crazy thing. But back in those days, it was normal. It was normal. So it was really crazy to think that a woman could be a pilot, but it's not. It's not. We have now pilots that are captains. Unfortunately, I'm still not, but I have many friends of mine who are captains. We have pilots who are flight instructor, test pilots, of course, military pilots. So we have not a lot of women, because not a lot of women think about this job as a good job for them. But many more, you know, since the days that I started. I wanted to show you some pictures. Actually, they are all recent because I'm not good in taking pictures. So I have some of me and some of the sky, because the one wonderful thing up there, it's to take pictures of what you see outside. So the skies, the mountains, the clouds. So let me know if you see the screen.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so this picture actually was taken by a friend of mine a few years ago, and I really love this picture because it was put on it went also on a small magazine in my town. So I really I really love this one. Okay, this is my aircraft.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of the aircraft, because actually it's an Airbus, and there are 3 different versions of 4 actually. Alitalia had just 3 different sizes, longer or shorter, but actually we could fly each one of those. And this is me flying over in Sicily, in the south part of Sicily. Landing, it's the airport is it's Comiso. As you can see where my hand is, we call it the side stick. It's like this thing that young people uses for games, but it's actually the way we control the aircraft. And you see also there is on the window an iPad, because nowadays we don't use paper charts anymore, and we use iPads. So less weight to carry and less fuel used to carry this weight. Actually, this is me, and she's a captain, Ilaria. She comes from my city. She's a wonderful person, really. And this is a entire female crew for Women's Day. So this is again Ilaria, and these are all the flight attendants that we flew together that day. It's funny because we were doing 4 legs, but after the first 2, the captain Ilaria had a really bad backache, and she had to go home. So we finished with a man. It was no more a female. This is me during COVID. During COVID, of course, they stopped all the flights. But as Alitalia was the national carrier, we had to do some flights to take sick people from one place to the other. So typically from Sardinia, that it's an island in Italy, they were flying to Milan, where we have very good hospitals. So we did this flight to let these people go to Milan to get some medicines. And this is another crew. This is a mixed crew. And this is the Mont Blanc, the Monte Bianco, White Mountain. It's the highest mountain in Europe, depending on where you put the borders of Europe, because there's another tall mountain in the Caucasus region, but actually it is Monte Bianco. It's the highest in the Alps, at least. And this is Mount Etna. Etna is a volcano near Catania in Sicily, and sometimes it had like this. It was not an eruption, but some smoke on top. And I think it's the mountain that I really picture the most. I made a lot of pictures of Mount Etna because actually it's beautiful. These are clouds with the sun. This is thunderstorms. And these are a morning. As a pilot, you see a lot of time, the sun rising up in the morning. And I think it's I really loved waking up early and taking off during the night, and then seeing this sun coming up, especially coming from the Middle East. I did a lot of flights when I was young in the Middle East, and I really loved flying there. I really loved going to Damascus in Syria, Damascus. I really, it's one of the places that I miss the most. And this is again another morning. And this is a thunderstorm, something you have to avoid. You don't want to go inside there because it can be kind of messy to stay inside there. And this taking off from Catania. And again, this is a thunderstorm far away and the sun rising up. And this is a strange cloud over the Alps. Really a strange one. I think it was the only one that I saw, like this. And when you see clouds like this way, very like long and shallow, it's because there are strong winds. So this means usually a lot of turbulence, especially when it's on top of mountains. And this is again a view. This is approaching Roma. And as you can see on the land, there is really bad weather. So kind of a messy day. And this is also a morning in Linate, in Milan, an early morning in Milan. And this is an evening in Milan, a cold winter evening. And then again, this is a sunset down in Sicily as well. And this is a sunset again. Sometimes when the air is very clear, you see really wonderful colors and lights. Yeah, and this is my new this is my new adventure. As you can see, this is my new uniform. So the one that I will put on tomorrow. I will be working from Paris, so I will be living in Paris. Yeah, it's going to be really a new challenge, a new adventure. Yeah. So this is it. This is my life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have any questions.
Yes. Well,
sorry, I really
no,
impressed.
no, go on. Great. I just wanted to say that we have two aspiration pilots, Henna and Sakina.
Hi.
I don't know if they can show themselves briefly, just a little flash of them. I don't know if the connection permits this. In the meantime, Batur, if you wanted to ask some questions, please go ahead.
I have nothing to ask, but how hard is that as a female person to pursue their dreams in a country like Italy? I mean, like in Afghanistan or in other Asian countries, that might be very hard. But as you raised there, so what do you think? How much hard is that for a female to reach to a position like this, like you reached?
Now it's not that difficult. It definitely is not. You need no, I would say now it's not. Now it's a very open job for women. So yeah, you just have to. It's the same as for men. It's really absolutely the same. When I was young, it was not like this. But it was difficult also for a man. Let's say it was not easy also for men, unless you were coming from the military. Civilian pilot as me, so people that had always flight only civil planes. It was difficult also for them 25 years ago. So today it's easy for both. It's easy for men and for women.
And how was that during, when there was lack of people in your own gender? So that's might be hard for you to be good enough and comfortable enough with the colleagues? How hard was that? How they treat you during your job, or whenever there were less people in this field?
Actually, generally speaking, I really, okay, that's probably why my attitude, I was raised by my dad thinking that I am as a man. I mean, I was raised to be independent, to work, to make my bread, to put my bread on my table every day, and not to rely to any man to do that. That's the way I was raised. So I never felt like I was less than a man. And I always had that attitude. And I think that attitude helped me in my life, because probably at the beginning, some people looked at me as I really wasn't as good as a man, but just at the beginning. I think that, especially in the last 15 years, I would say after I had my second son and I went back to work and I never left, actually, I really felt like equally treated. I mean, the people were happy to fly with me. They were happy because as pilots, you go to these simulators a few times a year and you do your exam. You have an exam. If you don't pass that exam, you're not allowed to fly. So the simulator is like a tricky moment. But people wanted to do the simulator with me. So, if they wanted to do this kind of thing with me, that means that actually they accepted me as a pilot. It's really, yeah, we really as women, we made our way in this job. So it's really possible for women right now.
So you mean that you treat well in the practice, in the environment of your work?
Yeah, of course you find always someone who doesn't like women, but as you find someone who doesn't like people with black skin or with eyes like you find stupid people everywhere. So yeah, but generally speaking, I would say that for women right now, it's it's not perfect, but it's good. I mean, you can do that. Actually, you can go and you can achieve this position, and you can do your job easily and really feeling good about this. Then maybe it's more difficult to become an instructor, to have like this kind of career. It's still really difficult. If you see top management positions in airlines, you see really not that much women right now. But I think it will change. It will change.
Good, good.
I wanted to see if the students have some questions. Brishna, Rana?
I see a hand, Vica.
Mahafiza, okay. Yes, please.
Do you have my
Mm. Can you write the question, because the line is very bad?
Mahafiza, is it possible to write the question? Unfortunately, the internet is not very good. I'm going to try to text her. Please text the question. Okay. Oh, here we have it in the chat. Oh, okay, Alessandra, you wrote in the chat. Okay. Yeah, so you have some contacts with military pilots? Because actually Hena would like to be a military pilot.
Well, I'm not really, I don't really know about that. I think it's really specific for any country. I think it's really, I don't know how it works in Italy right now. I think you have to do this like assessments as well. And, but I think it's country specific. So I have really no good hints there to give. Yeah.
Okay. No, I just wanted to know if you know some military pilots
a lot
that
of
we can ask. Yes, that we can ask to come and give their experience.
Yeah, I know people who used to fly in the military a lot of years ago. Yeah, I know some of them. I had a lot of my colleagues, people that are now flying in the military. No, I don't think I have, but I can look for that if you want me. I know a person who has a lot of contacts, and I think I can do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
If you give me a bit of time, because I'm going to be quite busy in the next weeks, so you have to be very patient.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you for your time. So I think that.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Sir, Hina have question. She want to ask question from Alessandra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Hello to everyone. My name is Hena Homhar. I want to become army pilot. I have one question for you. From you, at the first time you sit in airplane, how was your feelings?
The first time, can you say again that the first time?
At the first time you sit in the airplane, how was your feelings?
Oh wow! But I remember my first time in the big airplanes. The small airplane was quite. It was good, but yeah, the first time in the small ones actually. It was kind of weird because I was used to fly with my dad with this big aircraft that they never. It's difficult that they move that much because it's like big ships. They don't move. And the first time I went on this small aircraft, I was flying here close to Venice, and it was an incredibly windy day. That is not really the case here in Veneto. It's never windy. It's kind of really polluted and no air. So it was really bumpy, a bumpy flight. And I was like, no, this is not my job. It's too much. But then I got used to that. And yeah, but I think that my biggest emotion was when you fly the small aircraft, you are very close to the ground when you land or when you taxi with the aircraft. The first time I went on this big airplane, because back then, now what happens? It happens that when you learn to fly a type of aircraft, because you have to learn every aircraft as a different course that you have to do, a different exam. So when you learn, those days you do your flight in the simulator, and then you had 1 week on the actual aircraft with no passengers. You were just trying. Now they have this 0 flight time simulator. They do everything in the simulator. The first time you get on a plane, it's with passengers. And that's yeah, and that's crazy. But my first time I was flying in the southern part of Italy with, it were just the 3 of us on the plane. We had this big plane and 3 people on it, and we were doing whatever we wanted with the plane, like flying low and on the sea. And I think it was really yeah, I still remember that. It was incredible. The first time I got on the stairs on this big aircraft, so high from the ground. Yeah, the first time I gave the power to take off. Yeah, I think it's a big emotion. Yeah, it's a big emotion as well. It is still now, because to save engines, we don't put the full trust to take off. We just put the trust that we need for that weight. But sometimes when we were flying the biggest aircraft, the Airbus 321, with a few passengers, a few times just to enjoy ourselves, we were putting the full trust, and it's like, wow, yeah, it's wonderful. And then you see, it's not like a military plane. A military plane is really much better, of course, but you see this runway that it's, moving faster and faster, and then I can't wait. My first fly again after 1 year and a half would be on the 25th of April. And I know that I will cry. I know that because it's going to be a big emotion. Yeah. Yeah. I have a message here. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your answer. I'm really happy.
Yeah, I'm so happy that I made you happy, really. It's a big emotion also for me, because it's seeing my life from a different perspective, and it's very emotional, because when I talk about my mom encouraging me to do the job that I loved, it's really a big emotion when I talk about that, because I think she was really, it's really important that someone tells you that you can do what you love. And it's the biggest gift that can be done to you. And I was a lucky woman, because I had a whole family telling me that I could be independent, that I had to study, that I had to work my way out. I was really lucky. I had also my grandfather, both of my grandfather, telling me that you have to be independent, because independency is the biggest freedom in life. And you can choose only when you are free. If you're not free, you cannot choose. So you have to fight for your dreams always. Yeah, never give up. Okay, I have a question. My question is that, as a pilot, what was the biggest challenge for you during this journey, and how did you handle it? The biggest challenge, many actually.
Hello to all, myself is Nadrani, and I have a question. What are the special skills for a person to be a pilot?
The special skills are, as I said before, there are some technical skills, of course, that are important, but it's something you can be trained. Everything you need to become a pilot can be trained. It's not, none of us is born as pilots. Some of us are better pilots, some are worse pilots, but you can be trained to be a good pilot. I think that the most important competency that you have to have is the ones that I said before: being able to communicate, being able to work with other people. It's really important. If you have the chance to search some incidents that happened in the aviation history, you will see that most of them are not due to technical reason, but to human behavior. It's human behavior that mess up things. As usual. Things are not messed up. It's us that mess up things. So those are the most important things you need. Of course, you need to be willing to study a lot. You need to be humble. You never have to think that you know everything. Whenever you sit with another person in the cockpit, even if you don't like him or her, you have to think, what can I learn from this person? You always have to be in that kind of mood. What can I learn from this? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? And it's really important for a pilot to make a briefing. That whatever you do, you think about what are the threats out there, the hazards, what's going to be your day, what can you do, be prepared. But I would say that briefing is important, but the most important thing is, as I said, debrief. Even when things are like perfect, you say, okay, I did, today was like a perfect flying day. You never have to think about that with that perspective. You always have to challenge things. Was it really perfect? Or maybe I was just lucky. I did some big mistakes and I didn't die today because I was lucky, because God was watching me. And so that's really important, because only in that way you can learn. And you have to think that we are humans, and humans makes mistake. It's built in us. It's built in us. We make mistakes. There's no way not to do mistakes. It's the way we deal with them that makes us different. So dealing with mistakes also is important.
So by saying briefing, you mean a small meeting within your equipe?
It's both. You can do a small meeting with the equipe and saying and like create the team and the atmosphere and the way you want to work that day, of course, but also yourself. Whatever you do, you have to stop and think what you are going to do. What's the situation up there? We call it situational awareness. It's really important that in every moment you know where you are, how your aircraft is, how the environment is, what is the situation, and what you think it's going to happen. Fly ahead. It's one of the things that they teach you, and since you first put your feet on a plane, fly ahead, be ahead of the aircraft. You have to be ahead of your aircraft, because if the aircraft is faster than you, he is going to take you where he wants to. And as he is not human, you have no idea of what an aircraft wants to do. You have to drive the aircraft, so you have to be in front of an aircraft. And as an aircraft is flying at 900 kilometers per hour, it's really important that you learn to do that. But it's, as I said, it's something that can be trained.
Okay,
As a
thank you.
pilot, you like to land the aeroplane, or you like to up? Which one do you like the most? Like personally, I'm not feeling good whenever the aeroplane is landing. It's feeling very different. So what about you as a pilot? You like to land the aeroplane or to up? Which one feels you good?
Well, actually, I like the entire approach and the landing, of course. Yeah, I like the approach when you start to descend and because not a lot of people know that actually planning a descent is not that easy, because an aircraft needs miles to descend. So you need you need a certain amount of space to do a good descent, and also it's really important not to be too high or too low in an approach, because if you are too high, you're not going to land. You need to do another turn around. And if you are too low, you are going to use a lot of fuel. And fuel today, it's a big issue because of the environment, because of costs. So it's really important that you have a good descent. So that's what I liked, because it makes you think a lot. What's going to happen? Will they make me a shorter approach, so I have to descend more? Will they make me a longer one, so I have a shallow descent? So, and you know the airport, so you know what happens in Rome by that time, and I really like that. And also I like the landings. Yeah, it's the most challenging and difficult phase, of course, when there are winds and some kind of mountains in suits the orography of the airports. Yes. No.
And how about the shakes in some mountain places? Sometimes it's happening, right?
What?
How about like a kind of shakes? The airplane is shaking
Yeah.
unconditionally in some places. So how do you feel doing that?
Well, I think it's not, it's something that very few pilots like, to be shaken, because it's one of the moments you don't have control. And today, with this kind of weird weather that we have, yeah, you can really get into really bad situations. But as anything that we do up there, we are trained, we have procedures, and we stick to procedures, and procedures most of the time takes you out of everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for answering.
Welcome.
Alessandra, I believe you still had the question of Mahafitza on the chat.
The biggest challenge. I would say that the biggest challenge was as a mom. Yeah, it's not an easy job in that sense. Because personally, as I think many, all other women, but also every parents wants to stay with their kids, and they want to see them grow, and they want to be with them every day. So I think the biggest challenge was to the work-life balance. Yeah, and especially 2018, 2019, the aviation world was crazy because we had tons of passengers. Everyone wanted to fly. Actually, we had full aircraft even in January, in November, where usually there's no one flying. So we really worked really hard. And I had really few days off at home. And when I got home, I just had the time to wash my clothes and take them out of the luggage, wash them and put them back again. I didn't have really time to enjoy my kids, really didn't have time to spend time with them. And I think those were my worst days, actually. And that's why when Alitalia filed for bankruptcy again, I decided to quit because I wanted to stay with them. But I don't think that it's really a women thing, because I have a friend also that is a lone father and he has the same issues. So I think it's a parent thing. Nowadays, jobs are really demanding on people. Not only the pilot job, but every job. They want you to stay at work like all day long. And I think that's if I have a dream now, and my dream is to become a captain because I earn a little bit more money, and then I can take a part-time and going to work a little bit less and stay with my family a little bit more. And I really enjoyed my last year and a half here every day with my boys. So yeah, I would say that was the biggest challenge, and it has nothing to do with being a women pilot. It has to do with the way the job actually in the Western world is designed nowadays, that it's completely unhuman, I think.
Wonderful answer.
Excuse me, I have another question. How much language do you learn for pilot job?
Language, you mean English?
Yes.
But yeah, I would say not a lot, actually, because yeah, it's crazy, but it's like that because phraseology that we use for ground to air communication is very strict. So there's not a lot you can say there. If it's like if they tell you to climb, it's like Alitalia 123, climb to flight level 230, and what you have to answer is climb flight level Alitalia 123, climb flight level 230. So there's not a lot you have to say. It has become a little bit more challenging with language because when I started, Alitalia had only Italian pilots, Italian flight attendants. Now, company like EasyJet, they have Italian, English, German, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Greek, So we need to speak to each other, and then you have to, to have a good knowledge.
Thank you so much.
What?
Thank you so much to all of you.
Mhm.
And Miss, can a person be afraid that they are scared from high places?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, why not? Can a person be afraid that they are scared from high places?
Don't understand the question.
No, I didn't. Can you text it, please? Sorry. Wonderful to hear all these questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. So not need to learn so much English to become a pilot. This was the question, right?
You just start with a few, and then you will learn the English that you need. It's just a question of practice as well as.
The student was preoccupied. I don't know very well English. Can I become a pilot?
Actually, they speak a good English because they can make a lot of questions. So yeah, it's good enough. It's good enough to start.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. Anybody else has some questions? Sorry for before that it wasn't unhearable, the question. I'm sorry. If you can still write it down, text it, Alessandra will be very happy to answer the question. Here it is.
Yes, because I am scared of high places. No, you can do that. You know what we say, that when you are scared from high places is because you want to fly. Yeah. La vertigine, it's Giovanotti, there is a song that say, la vertigine non è paura di cadere, ma voglia di volare. The scare of high places is not because you're scared to fall, is that because you want to fly. So actually, I think it's you can do that, absolutely. Yeah. Because you don't feel like you are on the brink of something, that you just feel, that you possess that highness. So no problem with that.
By the way, I'm very scared to fly, but still I cannot do my trip without being on the window seat. I have to see downstairs. It's I cannot conceive, understand flying without seeing outside.
Okay, but that's one of flying actually is one of the safest way of transportation that we have. It's one of, and it's really an industry that it's built around safety. It's I mean, they could do something better, especially in Europe. In Europe, it's like kind of a far west for aviation, but it's a very safe environment. As a pilot, what is your message for the world? Wow, this is a big one.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, what is your message for the world? My message is this: we are such a small piece of land in the universe. It's really, when you are up there, it looks like, we are small and fragile. Human life, it's like, at the same time, it's a miracle, but it's really fragile. So I have no I don't understand why we fight each other. I know it sounds naive, but it's really like that. I don't understand why we fight for lands and we fight for, yeah, it's we have so many problems to solve that fighting each other is really losing time. So that's my message. We have to stop losing time and think about the real issues that we have. And also, as I said before, let women be on top of countries, of companies, because women, when they are allowed to be women, they have really the power to put things together. That's what we are able to do. We put people together. We put things together. We manage to make livable life from impossible situation. That's what we are really good at. So that's my messages.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your participation. I think you're going to find so inspiring. Thank you, Mahafitza. You will find your file. I think it's on the download or with Zoom
Okay.
writing, I think. And yeah, as soon as you can, please share it with us. We will cut it, especially the first part where we weren't all connected, but it has been really a pleasure. Thank you for your time. So I'm saying this for everybody else. Me and Alessandra never met. I had met really briefly 2 minutes with a man who's a pilot, and I rang his bell and saying, we spoke one day, and you told me you were a pilot. We would like you to come and talk to us, our students from Afghanistan. And hopefully, this man Andrea didn't thought that I was crazy, but he said, well, instead I can bring Alessandra to speak with you. So thank you.
Can I also say one thing?
Yes, please.
It's inspiring also for me to meet you. I would like to meet you in person, actually. It would be wonderful, because I really